27 years ago, the kids from the Losers Club, now adults, are forced to return to Derry, the small town that was the only witness to their victory against Pennywise. The blood promise they once made, the time has come to fulfill it. In Derry, a picturesque town in Maine, an evil that had been hidden for 27 years has just awakened. A couple of men, who are enjoying the rides at a festival, are attacked by some juvenile delinquents. The couple decides to leave, but they are attacked again by the delinquents in a secluded place. Once subdued, they throw one of them into the river to flee the crime scene. Adrian, desperate, fights for his life in the cold waters of the river when a hand helps him out, unaware that the strange being is Pennywise, who devours him in front of his boyfriend's terrified gaze, disappearing into a sea of red balloons. Mike, the only member of the losers who decided to stay in Derry, lives a life of solitude and constant vigilance, listening to cases of disappearance on the radio. Suddenly, he hears about a dismemberment case near the bridge, goes to the scene, finds a message from Pennywise, and without hesitation, contacts all the members of the losers. In a mental institution, Henry Bowers is interned after having killed his father on Pennywise's orders, who sends his deceased comrade Patrick Hochstetter to help him escape from that asylum. In a Chinese restaurant, the companions who bravely faced a monster from another world arrive one by one. The reunion takes place with much fervor and nostalgia, remembering only the good moments that brought them together, memories that were forgotten or blocked deep within their being, all unaware of Stanley's end, which brought his existence to a close and broke his promise. Mike explains to them that Pennywise has returned and that 27 years ago they hadn't actually defeated him. He has come back and called them to exterminate him once and for all. The tension grows, and with it, the fear of facing the monster they had left in the past takes hold of them. In that moment, they form a prayer with the fortune cookies they received, saying, "I suppose Stanley couldn't make it to the meeting?" Suddenly, the fortune cookies hatch like eggs and hellspawn emerge from them, and putrid heads appear in the restaurant's fish tanks. After the vivid group hallucination, they leave furious with Mike for bringing them to the town. Beverly calls Stanley's house, and his wife answers in tears, informing her that he passed away by his own hand last night. Upon hearing the call out loud, everyone says goodbye and wants nothing to do with Pennywise, but Mike manages to convince Bill not to leave and to see something very important. Meanwhile, Pennywise lures a girl with a firefly to the dark and lonely part of a baseball stadium bleacher, where she is tricked into coming closer and devoured in a single bite.
You're supposed to say 30.
Beverly, Richie, Eddie, and Ben arrive at the hotel to grab their things and leave, but Ben notices something strange about Beverly, asking her how she knew before how Stanley would die. Cornered, she confesses that she saw everyone's death. Meanwhile, Mike took Bill to a kind of attic in the library, where through rare substances and artifacts from American tribes, he managed to see the Okapigwa ritual, how Pennywise arrived, and how they managed to defeat him, deducing that by using things they possessed in their childhood, they could defeat Pennywise. Mike and Bill arrive at the hotel and convince the others to perform the ritual, and they go to their childhood secret hideout. Mike urges them to go find their artifact alone and once found, to regroup in the library, which they accept with extreme concern. In a gloomy apartment, Beverly is attended to by a kind elderly woman who invites her into what was once her traumatic and repulsive home, her abusive father's home. While the elderly woman is away, Beverly takes a tour of her old home in search of her artifact, evoking traumatic memories from her childhood. She manages to find the love letter Ben gave her, but before she can leave, she is attacked by the demonic and naked elderly woman, possessed by Pennywise. However, she manages to escape from that vivid nightmare. In an abandoned arcade room, Richie finds an arcade coin. Dark memories surface of a hidden homosexuality over the years. The appearance of Pennywise is not long in coming, attacking him in the park. The clown tells him that he knows his dirty secret and that he will reveal it to everyone. Terrified, Richie closes his eyes, trying to convince himself that what is happening is not real, managing to escape. Returning to the genesis of his traumas, Bill, in pain and anger, goes to the sewer where his younger brother once played with his paper boat. Before leaving, he hears the voice of his missing brother calling for help. The childlike figure holds a paper boat. The desperate Bill struggles to reach and save his brother, a struggle that is abruptly cut short by Pennywise. Bill, with all his strength, manages to free himself and thus recover the paper boat of his deceased brother. There, he meets a boy named Din and euphorically tells him to leave the town. Ben returns to his old school, where memories of bullying and unrequited love from Beverly torment him mercilessly.
Right.
Pennywise haunts him in his memories, and he manages to hide in a locker, where he finds a piece of paper signed by Beverly. The harassment from the demonic clown continues, and Ben manages to escape from it. Eddie arrives at the pharmacy of his childhood, and then he hears his mother's voice, the agonizing voice of his mother coming from the basement of the pharmacy. He walks down the dark and narrow hallway towards the stretcher where his mother is tied up. Desperate to free his mother, he is attacked by the leper, leaving his mother at his mercy. Fed up with being afraid, Eddie strangles the leper and flees with his inhaler in hand. Once everyone manages to get their childhood artifact, they go to the hotel, but Richie and Eddie are exhausted and want to leave the city. Eddie is attacked by Henry Bowers, and confused and traumatized by the event, he fights back against Bowers, returning the attack. He is rescued by Ben and Beverly, and Bowers manages to escape through the bathroom window. Pennywise sends a warning to Bill with a note on the skateboard of the boy he met. Desperate, Bill runs to the fair to help him. He sees the boy entering the funhouse, chases him fervently until he catches up, but is unable to save the boy who is devoured by this evil. Bowers arrives at the library before the losers and attacks Mike. In a fierce struggle, Bowers is about to stab Mike but is taken out by Richie. The others arrive at the library except for Bill, who is furious about the child's death in front of his eyes, and heads to the Neibolt house to finish off Pennywise. When he is ready to enter, he is reached by the others who convince him to fight together against the clown. Once inside the abandoned house, the group is separated by Pennywise. The group of Beverly, Mike, and Ben is attacked by Pennywise's reflection, but the attack is suppressed by breaking the mirror on the wall. The group of Bill, Richie, and Eddie is attacked by Stanley's dead body, whose head transforms into a kind of mutant spider, and it attacks the three friends indiscriminately. With great difficulty, they manage to defeat it, and the two groups reunite. They descend into a kind of underground caves, crawling through narrow and claustrophobic spaces until they reach Pennywise's lair. Mike places the sacrificial vessel and begins the ritual. And they all start to burn their artifacts, describing a bit what it is and represents for each of them. They hold hands to advance in the ritual of Chud. The fire goes out and the three lights of death appear descending towards them, falsely trapping them in the vessel. As Mike confesses to them that the Okapigwa could never kill or defeat him, Pennywise, reveling in their failure, attacks them. They all flee in terror from the monster in the shape of a mantis. Once separated, each one is confronted with their deepest fears. Richie and Eddie must choose between 3 doors, but each one is more terrifying than the last, and they return once Pennywise's tentacle leaves. Bill is sent to the basement of his house where a conversation takes place between young Bill and his brother, in which he asks why he didn't join him to play that day. The feeling of guilt eats away at his soul, and he manages to recover by killing his regrets in the form of his brother and himself. Beverly is sent to the school bathroom where she is terrorized by her bullies. Ben is thrown into his secret refuge and tormented by its collapse. Before both drown, Ben shouts to Beverly, "I love you," and fighting for their lives, they manage to reunite. Mike is about to be devoured by Pennywise, but he is stopped by a rock thrown by Richie, who is caught by the lights of the death of the evil entity. Eddie, seeing that his friend is in danger, throws a spear-shaped iron into its mouth, miraculously wounding it. Pennywise is impaled and injured, happy because he thinks he killed the clown, but is pierced from behind. Everyone rushes to his aid. Eddie, badly wounded, tells them that he felt the clown shrink in fear of them, as they no longer feared him. They conclude that by insulting him, they can make him shrink. Pennywise starts to be insulted to death, and he recoils, unable to do anything, shrunk, let's say, by his traumas. Mike puts his hand into his chest to take out his heart. Pennywise, without the power to fight back, cannot stop it, and together they rip out his heart with their own hands. And so, a millennia-old being finally dies at the hands of a bunch of losers and misfits. They hurry to see Eddie, but discover that he has died from his injuries and are forced to leave his body behind, as the cave collapses and destroys the Neibolt house. The remaining losers return to their old bathing area where they console, who is still crying for. His disappearance has also caused the scars on their hands to disappear. After the losers separated, Ben and Beverly got married, returned to the kissing bridge where they had once carved their initials. Mike decided to move away from Derry and start a new life. And Bill began to write his new story when he found out that Stanley had sent posthumous letters to all of them. The letters reveal that Stanley was too scared to face Pennywise and was aware that this would make him a weakness that, if he showed up, would cost the lives of all his friends, so his suicide aimed to strengthen his friends against the clown. As a last wish, he asks the remaining losers to live life to the fullest of their potential.